Greetings and welcome back to Switch to Linux. I'm trying to talk over the two panelists who are discussing things between themselves right now. But Dan just jumped on. Greetings. All right, hey, I'm gonna unmute you guys now so I don't forget. How's it going, guys? And we got look at this stranger. Look at this stranger. Quint showed back up. How's it going, man? He was really secretly recovering from the thing, you know.
I was just busy.
No. Yeah. No. None of that. Anyway, how's it going, Dan?
I'm rushing through the day.
All right. I did see a report today. Someone was like, hey, one of the great news about this is people are getting more sleep. I'm like, are they really? I'm not. I'm getting less. I'm just like,
Normally, I'm getting more sleep, too. I could use some new audio books.
Oh, I'll get you one, man. I'm working on the Synaptergy audiobook. I'm done with part 1 as of last night. I'll send you part 1, and then I'm just going to leave you hanging on part 2 until I finish it.
Can you send me one too?
Yeah, I'll get it up.
What format is it in?
MP3.
Better yet.
All right. Yeah. So I'll get that out. And hey, World of Linux just showed up. How's it going there? Yeah, I'll get that. So I should be getting the edits back from the editor end of this week. She said it should be in theory in on Saturday. I have to figure out exactly how I'm going to go in there. Like, I know, like the werewolf of Harrisburg, that would be our governor, Tom Wolf. And I'm ashamed to share a name with that guy. He's like, in these stores, like, if you have people coming in, they should be wearing masks. And now the store's like making it like, no, I'm not wearing a mask. So I stocked up on food for the next probably about 6 weeks. I don't think I have to go into a store. And I
can't find masks anywhere.
Yeah, I'm just going to go in and chat with the farmer. I already buy my milk and my eggs from a farmer right out of the cows and out of the chickens. So I'm just going to ask him, hey, what farmers do you recommend to go buy my produce from so I don't have to go into a grocery store for a while? So I'll get that information this week. Except I think that the Mennonite market, we actually have a Mennonite grocery store, another city over. I'd have a sneaky suspicion that they don't really care about any of this. So I'm going to go over there because they actually have a lot of bulk food items that I like to get anyway. And so I want to try that out. But anyway.
Here in Atlanta, there's actually this really neat delivery service that comes directly from farmers.
Nice. That sounds cool.
Do, where basically you get every week you get fresh vegetables, fruit, usually there's a whole bunch of stuff that comes with it. But it's all from local farmers, and that's what we get.
Cool. Very good. Yeah. Otherwise, where I was going with all that, though, is my edits should be into the post office either tomorrow or Saturday to go pick up. As soon as I get those picked up, then I will probably release the audiobook out to the beta team and probably the supporters at that point in time. Audiobook, Quint, do you want it in parts or do you want it when the whole thing's done?
You can just give me the part, and then you can leave me hanging on it.
All right. So I'm going to do parts. So I'll send you part 1, which is 6 chapters, and then part 2 is going to be out for a while. I think that's like 10 or so chapters. And then part 3, there's 3 parts total. So I'll get that out to you guys.
Okay.
Maybe tonight. Don't hold me to it, though. I'm just like, so many things going on.
You got all the time in the world, man. What else you got to do?
Yeah, well, yeah. What else do I have to do? Piles and piles. I actually have a few of my clients are like hurting right now, and I kind of want to. I didn't tell them about it, and I hope they don't mind because we're kind of doing weird and controversially type stuff. But that's okay. This is actually a nonprofit organization that is basically it's a mental health organization. So I do work with a mental health organization for their website stuff. These guys are actually kind of suffering from this right now. So it's the International Society for Psychosis and Social Approaches, International Society for Psychological and Sociological Approaches for Psychosis. So if you are definitely interested in helping out an organization like that, there is a donation button over here. I'm not getting paid anything to point you their way. This is just one of my clients. And hey, if they stay open, I keep my contract. So, but
I'm praying for you, man.
Yeah. But I do have actually another one of my clients. We haven't slowed down at all. He keeps on doubling down on ads and stuff like that. And so we sell things over there related to pregnancy products. So, people are going to have babies. And in 9 months, we're going to be a lot more. So that's kind of that. But so we are actually on that one, since a lot of the stores are going down. We are relaunching the e-commerce platform. So I'm working to get the e-commerce platform launched back up on that. And that's probably who just gave me a call from a few minutes ago about that. So I told him, get me as much stuff as possible, and I'll get as much of his stuff up today as I can. But anyway, how are you guys doing? Are you guys surviving? Quarantines, lockdowns, whatever.
I got some dirty looks at the grocery store today when I tried to pay for my food with gasoline.
You paid for good with gas? What?
What?
Explain.
Gasoline is so cheap here. You can get it for $1.04. I find that price all around here.
Yeah, the price went so low because they're completely flooded because nobody's driving anywhere, of course, and so they're like hurting, and so they're almost giving away gasoline at this point.
Yeah, it's crazy. It's honestly crazy. Like throughout my lifetime, I never seen gas prices so low. All right, this is like historic.
I haven't seen them this low in, I think, what is about 15 years, right, Dan? About the last time you saw this?
Yeah, at least. I mean, I remember buying gasoline back in the middle 70s for 75 cents a gallon for my mini bike. But that's the only recollection I got a price this cheap for gasoline.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, we were talking with Toss, and he found an article where it's oil is trading for negative $33 a barrel.
Negative 33.
Negative. I mean, they're trying to give it away.
Yeah. So what happened is Russia dumped a lot of oil on the market as well, and so the storage facilities are completely full now. They're literally storing oil in pipelines, and they're trying to get gas stations to fill up and top off as well, because nobody's driving anywhere. Gas demand is dropped off the shelf, and every time gas demand drops down, then price just drops with it. So.
Yeah,
well, that's what they get for price gouging us for so long.
Yeah, I agree with that. In fact, when I was moving out west was the very first time I think we saw gas over $3 a gallon, I think. So I was driving out with my friend, and we were taking a loop down through some scenic highway, and she's like, "Wait, this is officially the most I've ever paid for gas." We were down in a border town just south of the Colorado border in Utah. Forget exactly what state what city it was. Ugh. I remember the state. There you go. I actually remember the road. I just don't remember the town. But anyway, Alexander's on. Greetings, Alexander. Moonbase Alpha Grays. How's it going there? I should have brought Roger over, but I didn't. Roger's on the bookshelf behind me. Chad V. Greetings, all. Simple answer to contact tracing is yes, sadly. What was my actual question? It's apparently not here. The question is on my title. Contact tracing, great or terrifying? Yes, it's terrifying. Okay. Hope Lineage OS doesn't do that. I'm pretty sure it won't. Just turn off your Bluetooth. It's the one thing that finally got me to keep my Bluetooth off, unless I'm explicitly using it.
I only use Bluetooth with my when I use my Bluetooth headphones. Otherwise, it's off.
Yeah, that's what I started to do. I don't have the headphones, but I do have a headset.
Yeah, I pretty much only use the Bluetooth when I want to blow my brains out with my stereo.
Yeah.
I did get one of those adapters, and I actually use it with this computer because it's easier than using my little Bluetooth USB dongle. I just plug the adapter into the headphone jack of my computer.
Yep.
And
you tried one of these?
Yeah, I have that exact same one.
These are awesome, man. The frequency on them is really clear, too, when you run audio through them.
Nice.
Yeah, so...
The cord's not long enough, so I can't do it, but I have one plugged into the headphone jack of my computer, and then I just have the headphones paired to it.
Well,
I have one of those really...
I
have one of those...
Use,
Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just use standard headphones with just wires. I don't use Bluetooth at all. I never use Bluetooth.
Yeah, like I got the Bluetooth headsets to chat with people on the phone.
Yeah,
well, I got really a set of them really high end JVC headphones for stereo use. So it's nice to walk around the house and just crank out on some Led Zeppelin or something like that, and it comes through crystal clear.
Nice. Very good. Very good.
But you just take this thing and you plug the little adapter that comes in it and into a size up adapter to the, I think it's like 5 millimeter or something like that. It goes right in the headphone jack of an antique stereo, and away you go. You have an antique stereo with Bluetooth headphones.
Nice.
Does yours have that switch on it, so you can switch it to different?
Yeah,
modes?
so you can switch it to transmit to receive.
Sweet.
There's a switch on the end, so it transmits too. If you turn it on to transmit,
I'll have to check one of those out. So, my car stereo has finally stopped being able to accept CDs and stuff, and so I have a shortwave radio transmitter right now, but it's like this big, nasty, annoying, bulky thing, and I'm just thinking, is it worth the time and the effort it's going to take to put a new stereo in the car, or just wait? Because I mean, heck, I bought that car like 12, 13 years ago at this point. Eventually it's going to die. I'm trying to figure, like, knowing my luck, I'll spend the time, the effort to put a new stereo on the thing, and it'll die next week. And I was like,
What do you want to do, and which way you want to go with it?
Yeah, like right now, like I had a friend sent me out an old junky $30 Android phone that was at his brother's house when he passed away, and it's like I don't have any reason to do with that, so I just loaded up with a bunch of stuff and I just threw it in the car with the shortwave radio transmitter. I just use that, and it does the job, so I don't have to listen to the annoying radio or something. So
Yeah.
Well, why are you looking at Bluetooth? Explain that. Why are you looking at Bluetooth?
The transmitter part. So I could connect to that, connect the thing to the Bluetooth on the phone and transmit, radio transmit if I wanted to. Is that what we're doing?
Tom, does your car have an auxiliary jack on the radio?
Sadly, no, it does not. I could probably hack one into it easier than replacing the stereo. Like my car, I have to literally take the whole dash off to replace the stereo.
I have another idea. They make a thing called an FM transmitter.
That's what I'm using right now.
You're using the FM and the
So you're using an
wire.
FM transmitter right now, which I'm trying to think if I want to keep doing that or if I actually want to go through it. I mean, I priced it out. I get a generic MP3 CD player for like $50 or something. No big deal.
The way these work, Tom, is that you plug it into the headphone jack, and then you plug it into the thing. You pair the headphones with it, and then you turn it on to the mode you want. So if you want to pair headphones to it or something like that.
Yeah, I guess that probably wouldn't work for me. All right. Getting back into our comments here. Moonbase Alpha Grays is going to be our dissenting opinion today, who thinks contact tracing is good. So very good. Man, if you want to jump on, send me an email. We'd love to get somebody else on here who might disagree with us a little bit more. We need some goats kicking us.
raid.
Let's see. Jean is on. Jessica, how's it going? Michelangelo, Necromancer, how's it going there? Vincent, how's it going there, Vincent? Good to see you, man. Essential oils more expensive than crude oil. Yes, they are indeed. Started pumping gas at 25 cents a gallon back in the 60s. Oh. Very nice. There you go. Terrified, and another reason to ditch Google Play services. Otherwise, Lineage will do it. Yeah, that's the thing, is my Lineage doesn't run with Google Play services. Anarita, greetings to you. Nice to go to the toilet with your Bluetooth headphones. Look, man, why?
Yeah, there's nothing like jamming out on the toilet with some headphones.
That's right. Then you got to clean up. Never mind. We won't go there. All right. Should we dive into the topic of discussion? We're how long in? Like this, unfortunately, this crappy new YouTube studio doesn't tell me how long we're going for, so I can't easily see how long we've been playing for. About 15 minutes. All right, let's go ahead and jump on into the topic. So, of course, we were talking about contact tracing, pros and cons. And I pulled out a few articles. My apologies, guys, for not emailing them earlier. I had a writers network meeting today, and I was, of course, I was on Zoom. Everybody, we had one other person who knew how to use it really well, and it was good. It was a testament to how easy Zoom is to use, I gotta say, for sure.
Okay.
And so, but that didn't go without a few little issues. But in the middle of all that, I was trying to post all the stuff, and I had neglected to email the articles out earlier. But first article from NPR. This is actually from my neck of the woods, WPSU, Penn State. Whoa, or is that just an ad up top? I don't know. But anyway, what this is looking at. This is actually here looking at contact tracing. Now, this article looks at the general concept, not how it's applied to cell phones. So just to give you an idea what it is, this is not something that's exclusive on phones. So when you hear contact tracing, it's not specifically on phones, but they're pulling a Microsoft where they have contact tracing and then contact tracing. Same thing, two different services, one of those being with a phone, one of them not. So the old way, as this article is describing contact tracing, is you start with an individual person, and then if they come sick, and this is not new. This is something that is done in epidemics and epidemiology. In fact, I took, was it epidemiology? I forget what exactly I did, but I had to do a lot of these weird type of courses in grad school. Of course, I did my grad work up medical research and stuff, and so we had. I think we did have an epidemiology course. It was either that or it was a population epidemics or something. I forget exactly. But we would do this basic type of stuff to track an epidemic and how stuff works. Is you take a guy who's infected and you're like, oh, he's coughing up a lung. They're like, we think it's viral. Now you got to go back and figure out where the guy was. And so the old school method was you'd have to go back and quiz the guy. Where were you on X day? Well, try and remember everywhere you've been unless your day is regular. So you start out with having where you are. It's like I went to the post office, went to the grocery store, and this. Okay, what time were you there approximately? Well, I don't know. 12 o'clock to 1 o'clock. It was a long grocery store trip. So now you got to figure out, has anybody else been at that grocery store within that period of time that you could possibly infect it? And then you take and follow all these people. And then it used to be, as you can imagine, a very encumbering thing. And so that's what the article is addressing here. So anything we want to mention about that before we get into the digital aspect of this?
Well, the only thing that I'm thinking about is how contract tracing said. So it's not exactly specific to cell phones or anything like that. It's just like if you would be doing contact tracing amongst people. Mm-hmm. So, that it would be a good thing, but then for some reason with technology, kind of twist that around in a negative way. That's the only thing I'm thinking about right now.
So if you really want a fun place where this was used, this was actually used by KGB used contact tracing. Not to trace epidemics, but to trace who was associated with whom so we could know who to spy on most effectively. Yeah. And so that was kind of the idea. In this, you're tracing everybody that you could have potentially spread a virus onto. So just like the same thing, you're tracing the contact that people have had. Okay? And so we had that principle offline. Now what they want to do is they want to take contact tracing and apply it to an online. So you have your phone that's perpetually beaconing itself out. Where are you? Who am I? Basically, if you have your phone and your phone has Bluetooth enabled, and now, do you have the app installed? But soon they want to Apple and Google want to bake this into the hardware, which raises more eyebrows for me. Like, okay, if this is so temporary, why are you taking the effort to bake this into the hardware? But they are. And the idea now is that your phones are all playing a massive game of Marco Polo with each other. And then if you come down and say, I have a virus, you can hit the button on your phone app. And then that button will go back and send a message out to everybody else that your phone had proximity contact with. So in theory, it's possible to do with some degree of privacy. The question is there going to be privacy? So that's kind of what they're looking at doing. Thoughts on that part?
One of the questions that I have about this, specifically about backing it into other platforms like hardware and stuff, is do you think if they want to make it run as on as many phones as possible, do you think Google will put it directly into this open source code of Android, or do you think it'll be something restricted to Play services?
That's a question, because we do know that Google does want to put it into the code itself, as does Apple. The question is it in the open source portion or is it in the proprietary blob portion? We haven't heard any comment on that yet.
Because if it is in the open source portion, people will be able to understand how it works.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, correct.
Yeah.
And so the idea is we want to be able to do this. Now, one of the principles is they're trying to say, hey, we're not really collecting any data. It's just for your own general benefit. But I don't see that necessarily as a promise that they're going to keep. And that's my biggest concern with it. It's one thing if it ever and perpetually is completely disconnected and only on the client device. And if it stays on the client device, I'm okay with that. I'm just worried about tech creep is my concern. Is it worth it? And that's kind of the question. Other comments on this, or should we close this out and go to the next article a little bit here?
Yeah, it would definitely not be worth it whatsoever, because usually when something happens, especially in the world about a pandemic, usually company uses that as an excuse to implement stuff, which that's exactly what's happening. So instead of just removing it, eventually they're just going to keep it, and then the tool is going to be there in the background for them to access later. So I'm pretty sure that they're not going to remove it afterwards in phones.
And that's my concern. That was when we covered this in the news last week, where it's one thing if it's an app. I'm okay with it being an app as a standalone thing.
Yeah.
But both Apple and Google said this is eventually going to be something that is baked into, and I did say hardware earlier, that is a misspeak, say baked into the software of the operating system itself. In other words, non-app based, something in the software. So on a Google phone or an Apple phone, dig into the settings, and there's where your contact tracing
with a Google phone, that'd be kind of really complicated, since there's lots of phones out there that actually use Android, but the hardware is not the same. Mm-hmm. The hardware varies from phone to phone.
Yeah.
I will also say, though, Tom, that the thing with Android is that specifically with the proprietary blobs, they're different for each phone. Whereas when it's AOSP or Android Open Source Project, which is the open source part, that's the same. So if they wanted to put it on as many phones as possible, it would have to be open source.
Yeah. And if they do it open source, that would make me more confident in the system.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. As for my phone, like, there's so many Android phones, and Google only has maybe their Pixel lineup. Nexus got discontinued a while back. So there's so many brands, like Samsung has their own version of Android, LG has their own version of Android and everything. So to implement all of that would still be a little bit more difficult, because I also noticed that Android 10, which is the latest version of Android, even though I have like one of the latest top phones, I still don't have it because the carrier actually updates the Android version. It's not LG. So even though Google could find a way, I heard that they update the Google Play Service app, which they do, or they update Android, but nevertheless, I think that it wouldn't be as effective proprietary, because, well, carriers manage updates, and then sometimes the brands manage updates. So it's still difficult to pull off.
How this works, just so people can understand a little bit better how it works. It's working on a baseband of your Bluetooth. So if your Bluetooth is off, in theory, it shouldn't do anything. And also, though, another article, and we'll cover this in more detail in the news tomorrow, it turns out that millions of phones don't even have Bluetooth capabilities in the hardware to even pull this off. So it's like, yes, I ain't upgrading. In fact, this might be at me to finally downgrade, but the idea is, and for somebody who Ben just jumped on probably a little bit late, what is contact tracing? In case that you jumped on a little bit late, so contact tracing, it started as an old offline system where you would literally trace the connections that somebody has made as they go through their life. What we're looking at here is Apple and Google recently announced a project to work together to implement a contact tracing system on the phone, where any phone could be able to indicate all other phones that were within proximity to it up to a certain period of time. And so that's the summary of what we're doing. And that's what the next article is looking at. So this could tell if you've been exposed to the stuff without sacrificing privacy. And that's the biggest concern. Does the protocol itself implicitly not sacrifice privacy, or is it too easy to dive on in and toggle a switch and make it collect privacy? Because that's really what's going to end up happening with it eventually.
This junk with these cell phones has really got me interested in going back to a regular household phone with an answering machine.
Yeah, I'm with you. Especially if you don't travel around a lot, Just buy yourself
Can't in this kind of climate.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's getting very crazy, which is why that I still like to keep old technology. Like, I still have an old 2002 computer that's really old, but it still works. And I like to keep that old technology because it seems that we're going to technology that might actually do more damage than good, right? That's what I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
I'm thinking, over all the years I've had maybe 2 iPhones, and before that, right around 2010s when I switched from an iPhone or from a flip phone to an iPhone. And the only reason I switched is because it was so simple to use. Then it got old. Then I got an iPhone 7 about 2017 maybe. And as they keep updating it, the phone's mutated into something I hate because they hide everything.
Yeah, they are getting worse. Like, I would say that the best experience I think I may have had as far as what the phone could do, and maybe it was the amazingness of the new phone, but when I got my very, very first Android, which was running like Android 2, oh, look who's back from quarantine. Hello.
And on top of that, they charge you for ads, and then they charge you for apps, and then they still put ads in them.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. You know what I don't get? Like, a little quick. Even though you pay for a full Windows 10 license, there's still advertisements on your start menu.
Yeah,
exactly.
Skype just updated and is now pushing ads in the Skype platform. It's like, really?
Yeah.
So this second article just kind of looks at how the system works with the Bluetooth connections and how the different apps are working and stuff like that. So these are actually all linked in the video description. So if you want to read through a little bit more about it. Now, is it really anonymous? That's the question that I have. On a fundamental basis, we have to assume for our own security and privacy that your phones are not private. I would assume no protocol on your phone is private unless it's specifically an audited open source application. So if it were in the Android open source project, I'd be a little bit more confident on it, but I'm not sure. I think that putting it in the Google Play stores is more likely what Google will do with it.
Google doesn't like to contribute to the Android open source project.
No, not really.
One thing I forgot to add about my technology, I had a Google, the first phone I got was a Google Pixel 2, I guess in 2017. Yeah. I wasn't like most of the kids where they got a phone immediately when they were like in 4th grade or something. And I didn't get my first phone until 8th grade. And that's when I got the Pixel 2. And then probably about 6 months, longer than that, probably about 8 or 9 months ago, I got the Essential PH1 running Lineage OS, and I think it's pretty good.
What's the Essential PH on that?
What?
What's the Essential PH on that? Is it 7?
Oh, I don't know. There's no PH on there.
All right, sorry, geeky science joke. Geeky science joke.
I know what
My
pH
apologies.
is. I get it now.
Okay.
You see, you
I
guys
think
have the
pH must mean phone because the model number is pH-1, so it's essential phone 1.
Yeah.
pH-1, man, that's pretty acidic.
you guys have the ability to actually take your phones apart and put lineage in them and root them the way you want them and everything else. Most of us other people really don't know how to do that.
And
no
I
better time than the present to learn, I guess.
I wouldn't
It's not
do
that
this
hard to do.
on this phone because this is like really new and the warranty's still there, and it's one of those phones that have two screens, so it wouldn't work at all with Lineage. It has to have their own software.
Yeah.
Like that's literally impossible.
The closest thing I've done to something like that is I had an MP3 player, an iRiver, and you could download different firmware, and I downloaded something called Rockbox.
Oh yeah.
They'll change the way the layout on the screen is and everything else and give it a whole new look. That's the closest I've came to really digging around with something like that.
Hank brings this point up. Contact tracing doesn't work unless you plan on combining things like voice recognition, camera footage, and GPS data. Just Bluetooth is going to flag everyone in the traffic jam with you. That is a fundamental concern. If your Bluetooth is on and you're driving down the road in a traffic jam or something, that's going to happen.
Yeah. Oh, by the way, Google has already been using all the Google Maps data to figure out where people were going. And actually, it was even on the news. So Google's just expanding on that, but they're already using their existing technology on all the Android phones to try to figure out what's going on. So that's already a proof that they really want to do this.
Yeah. So, and that's raises more fundamental problems. The more of those things you turn on, that's getting interesting. And of course, trying to bake it into the OS if this is really temporary, keep it as an app. What are you doing? Let's see. Basement of the home is daycare.
I just figured out a new job for you.
All right, what's
you
that?
can start selling lineage-based phones right from your very home.
Ooh, that'd be fun. Yeah, I mean, if I could
do that.
Yeah. I need to get some inventory first. Find me some inventory. I'll need to find me some black market deliverer or something. Shane is looking for a Linux-based mobile that doesn't use Google to keep big tech from tracking your personal life. So the two Linux-based ones right now are Pine and Librem, and neither one of them is really a production quality. But you can use something like Lineage or Graphene or some of the other news sources that don't have Google connections. And I think to answer another question that you had over here more recently, what apps are on it? Well, there's no app store directly on Lineage, but you can use F-Droid, which all of the apps in F-Droid are independently audited by security groups, and they are compiled by the F-Droid group, so you can download those, and you can actually install the F-Droid app store as well.
I just answered his question in the comments, right?
Excellent.
Said that.
All right. Two major issues with the whole concept. How do you know people are infected if you don't test them? Two, how do you rule out people seeing you in cars next to you? Okay. So question number one is, this is where, if it's really is a privacy-based system and an honor-based system, if I were to come down with sick, I go to the hospital and I get a test. They come back and you say, sorry, you're going to die of COVID. Then I would push the little button as my final dying wish before I keel over and die. And then that phone then will ping out to every other phone in its proximity. So it's based on me indicating to the phone app that I am infected. Now, number two, how do you rule out people looking in the cars next to you that is perfectly safe? You don't, and that's a problem.
Yeah, but apps are the best way of doing it, because implementing it on the phone first, it's impossible to have all the phones, and secondly, it wouldn't exactly work quite right.
Yeah,
I'm sure there would actually be some problems then there.
Yeah. So Vince says, I don't think this was something that should be done in the hardware. I think it is Google and Apple's hearts are in the right place. I think it should be on the device only and it should be opt-in. So installable opt-in as an app with no requirement by any government entity to run it. I'm okay with that.
Yeah.
It's just like I choose not to run Facebook or TikTok or any of these other crazy ones for that same reason. And I'm okay with that. I'm okay if as long as contact tracing is not required and not baked into the operating system, so it can't be soft toggled on at their whim without me knowing it, I'm okay with it. And we'll get into some of that. There's some stuff from ACLU coming out here. I'm finding myself more and more in agreement with the ACLU recently. I never thought that happened, but oh boy.
I have a story about TikTok that I'll tell you after we end. It's related to school though.
Okay. Yeah, we'll wait till we're
yes.
All right. Okay, let's jump into the next one. Let's see if there's any other comments that are really important that we look at, and I'll jump over to the next article. So this one here, this is from Engadget. Now I actually have the actual white paper from ACLU pulled up and ACLU's blog post as well. But the article from Engadget, ACLU outlines privacy concerns for contact tracing tech. Whoa. And I think I just messed up my headphones. Can we hear me, guys?
All right. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I think I just messed stuff up because I had the cat over here, and he's just like, I'm being stubborn. Come on. All right. So contact tracing tech could pose significant risks to privacy, groups warn. As Google and Apple prepare to team up on surveillance tech to help track the spread of the stuff, privacy watchdogs at the American Civil Liberties Union are urging government and tech companies to take a tougher stance on privacy. So they detailed a lengthy white paper outlining privacy concerns, and they say need to be taken into account in order for contact tracing tech to be effective. All right. So the companies say they will be taking privacy-preserving approach to data collection, and that's the kind of the concern here. Cat, you are pushing up so much fur, you're making me itch. What's up with you? All right. So their white paper is fairly long. It is 11 pages, and I actually have this all linked down in the description. Their blog post summarized it a little bit better, so it's a little bit more concise. And we'll just kind of look at one of the options are over here. And these are some things we talked about. So they brought up these 6 main points. Number 1, voluntary. Whenever possible, a person testing positive must consent to any data sharing by the app. The decision to use a tracking app should be voluntary and uncoerced. Installation, use, or reporting must not be a precondition for returning to work or school, for example. Now, this is important because there are some people that are suggesting a conspiracy to basically produce ID cards to verify that you are free of the virus. And, while it's not absolutely required of you as a citizen to get this, you will be strictly limited on the things you could engage in society without. And so you have to decide for yourself if that's true or not, and if that should be a thing. So ACLU is saying is, hey, no matter what happens, this has to be absolutely 100% voluntary. In other words, it has to be, I'm going to do this because I feel like it's what I need to do as a moral person in society. And I agree with that. I'm going to choose not to participate because I don't want to. And don't call me evil for that decision. Okay. And that's the first thing. Any comments on voluntariness?
Well, here's the thing. Like, the majority of people don't know anything about technology and how it works from the inside. I guess they know how to use their phones, but they don't actually know what's happening from the inside. But for us that actually do know what's going on behind the back, that's something that changes our minds a little bit, because the majority of people aren't gonna know anything about this. So it's really only us.
Mm-hmm.
So,
which is sad.
Yeah.
And most people are like, it's so amazing, we can do this. It's like, what are you giving up for it? I mean, They asked me to run the Zoom meeting next month on our next writers meeting. I'm like, I'll like quote unquote run the meeting, but I'm not creating a Zoom account to create. Someone else can do that.
What you should do, Tom, is just create a Jitsi and then send everybody.
Toss has been using Discord and its video lately.
Yeah, I want to look into that.
Yeah.
I guess all of us here are on Discord.
Yes.
I don't know if I want to necessarily make it a requirement to have a Discord account to interact on this, because some people are fundamentally against the TOS, which I get. So I don't know if I want to make it a requirement to join the streams, but I'm looking into other options. We need to test my cloud infrastructure. The biggest problem I've been having with Nextcloud is, and this is a fight with the Nextcloud developers in the community keeps saying, you need to allow us to select the camera. And they're like, well, the browser can do that. The problem they don't understand is if you have more than one camera on your computer, your browser gets confused sometimes. And that's a problem.
Yeah, it can. Like, for example, Firefox, usually you can toggle which camera that you have, but then if you have a setup that might have different computers and you have different browsers, that's going to be a lot more tricky.
Yeah, and that's what we do over here. So like right now I have 2 cameras, but if I plug this one in, I would have 3 HD cameras over here, and I'm running 2 different web browsers right now, and so I don't want to mess with all that unless I have more explicit controls.
We found that the Discord client works the best over the Discord web browser. That it works kind of.
Okay, so using the client works, using the browser it doesn't. Okay, interesting. I'll look into that.
There's also, I just found out about this one today. There's another open source one. It's actually one of the GNU apps. It's called Jammy. It's a lot like Skype.
Well, I like me a good set of jammies, so.
It runs on Windows, Mac, Linux, iOS, and Android.
Can you email me that? I'd like to look into that some more. Thanks. All right. Use limitations. So the data could not be used for purposes other than public health, not for advertising, especially not for any punitive or law enforcement purposes. This is, again, I agree with it, and I unfortunately think that this is where it's rife for abuse. It's one thing to say, we're putting this in for your health, but then use it for another purpose later because, hey, it's already there. When in history have governments given back something that they have taken?
Yeah, once they've taken something, they figured that it's already there. It's concrete. You can get away with it. It's like a judge. It's like a judge rules on something, and all of a sudden it's law.
I'm going to throw in a caveat so that I don't hear 15,000 comments about it. This is not a government program. It's a tech program. But at what point in time is the tech program a proxy for the government is kind of my point. Because I don't think the company's giving it back either.
Yeah. I think something's gonna happen with that. Pretty sure.
So, any other use limitations discussion?
Given our present track record of how the government polices technology, I would have to say the tech companies are going to run away with this and take all they can out of it. And they're not going to get punished for it. Really, they may get fined a few $1 million, but they throw that away every day, partying or something.
Yeah, it's up to us, really. That's the thing, because we can try to lobby, we can try to fight it, but it seems that we need to do stuff with our own devices instead. That's the most effective way of making sure you're private.
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, you should be leery of all this government stuff, and you should try to use as much open source, really. You should try on your phone. You should run a custom ROM to protect your privacy, stuff like that.
All right. Minimization. Policies must be in place to ensure that only necessary information is collected and to prohibit any data sharing with anyone outside of the public health effort. I don't even like this. I think even that goes too far. I think sharing the data, even sharing data with public health effort, is a potential concern and a potential problem.
Yeah.
Definitely an issue. So, but yes, minimization, I agree. But I think that even what they're proposing here goes too far.
Check.
Check. All right. Data destruction. Both technology and related policies and procedures should ensure deletion of data when there is no longer a need to hold it. And I think that for something like this current situation, 15 days. Because that's the longest period of time that has been exposed for exposure to
You're generous.
Symptoms. Yeah. I'm being generous, yes. But I think 15 days. I mean, 30 if you're particularly paranoid, but I think 15 would be good. It should auto-delete everything. And everything should be on the device itself.
Yeah.
Everything should remain on the device itself, which means if you drop your phone in the toilet, sorry, you just won't be able to find out because you should have done better and not been on the toilet with your phone.
Well, why do you think the phones are so expensive now? Up around $1,000. They're toilet resistant.
Yeah.
That's true.
Motorola now is releasing a flagship phone that's $1,000.
Oh yeah.
Oh, boy.
Yeah, everything's waterproof now. Like my phone is waterproof. Even my old phone was waterproof. My phone before that was actually waterproof.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Guess what? This phone isn't waterproof.
Well.
But it's also cheap though, right?
It's about, I think originally this phone was like I think it's $499 is what it went for. It was they originally priced it like $700, and then they realized nobody was buying it, so they took it down.
And then the company went out of business.
Yeah.
Did Shane's question get answered on Librem or PinePhone not working yet? Did we get that question answered?
I answered all the stuff about Lineage. I didn't see the PinePhone.
So as of now, Pizza Loving Nerd just got his PinePhone. He said that it can make calls, but the call quality is not worth having at this point. Librem might be able to do calls right now, but again, not all aspects. So the problem with the Librem and the PinePhones is they are not even beta products. They are barely alpha products. They're brand new. They're completely untested. There's very little with them. There's pretty much no apps, and you can barely make a phone call on them. They're not exactly functional phones at this point.
The reason the phone call quality is terrible is because pretty much all Android phones, this is one of the things that's put in all those proprietary blobs, is support for voice over LTE, and that's what makes the phone calls sound good.
Okay.
You have that in Lineage because that's bundled in the proprietary blob that comes with the ROM.
Yeah.
But voice over LTE is what makes the phone calls sound really good, and these phones don't have that.
All right. Okay. Transparency is the next one. If the government obtains any data, it must be fully transparent about what data it is acquiring, from where, and how they're using it. I think that goes too far. Transparency. No government should have access to any of the data. This is for your personal information only, period. End of story. That's my take.
Yeah, I really don't get why they would need it. Like the only thing you need is where people are going, and just figuring out where. Okay, for some reason I don't have a phrase anymore.
Uh-oh.
We're trying to get something with this. Yeah. I guess the only thing I was saying is that if everybody knows where they are and the phones are tracking everything, well, you don't really need extra information to identify them. You just need location, and that's it. Until you ask questions later. But yeah, that's my thoughts on that.
Well, I mean, the reason they're not using the location data as much is because the location data is more intrusive. It is more privacy focusing. But what you're doing with the Bluetooth is since the protocols and everything's always changing, as long as the phones can keep track of which phone is which, in theory is more private, but that in of itself still raises some concerns.
Yeah.
Not only that, with this rollout of this stuff and the Bluetooth and all, that uses considerably more phone power. Mm-hmm. Your battery's not going to last like it used to.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely tell you that. For starters, especially when everything's turned on, phones don't last that long at all.
Yeah, see, I have everything on my phone, including the hotspot and the Bluetooth just so I can get a full day out of my phone.
Bluetooth doesn't actually. Go ahead.
iPhones don't really come with much of a battery.
I will say though that Bluetooth doesn't really drain my battery that much. It's the hotspot that drains my battery.
Oh, that'll eat up a battery in a heartbeat.
One of the reasons, I think this is a lineage setting where it will automatically, it may be an Android setting now, but I think it was something, I think only Lineage has it from what I remember. It's a setting that automatically turns the hotspot off when there's no devices connected to it.
I didn't see that setting in my Lineage. I'll have to look for that. Every now and again, I forget to turn mine off. Okay, last one. No mission creep. Policies must be in place to ensure tracking does not outlive the efforts against the Voldemort virus. So that's true, and that's exactly the case, and that's why it should remain an app and not be baked into the operating system itself. Oh, Anna Rita, the government does need to know if you have pink underwear, by the way. Period. I mean, come on. Uh-oh, Dan, Bill says your phone is trash. All right,
What can I say?
Yeah, any other thoughts on the ACLU discussion with them?
Well, the whole thing about contact tracing is that I wouldn't support it because then again, the way that they're doing it is not good at all, and they're just going to do something very suspicious with it, which apparently always happens when they unveil new technologies. Mm-hmm. There's always something suspicious, so I usually question about it before doing anything else, which is what we're doing right now.
Yeah. So if you guys would like to, if you're sick of lockdown and you're like wanting to be like, oh, I got to get my frustrations out on this, and you like reading, I do have a new free ebook, and you can head on over to my website at worldwarepress.com. Drop the link in there, and you can scroll on down and click on lockdown down here, and you can download your copy of the book. And this book is going to basically, it's a story I wrote about lockdown. The PDF or the file now includes a PDF. It includes a EPUB and includes a Mobi and instructions on how to get that onto your various devices. Completely free. I'm not asking for any emails or anything else. Just head on over to grab it. If you are interested in Synaptergy, is the full-length novel I have coming out here in a couple of weeks. This one here, there is a mailing list if you'd like to get updates as to when that's coming out. I have not sent out the first update yet, but I will do so soon because we are we're moving in on the final time, so you can head on over there to worldwarepress.com, and I have that linked in the chat there. So that's free, and you are able to take that book and freely distribute it anywhere you would like. Send it to all your friends, post it on your site. I don't really care. Just have fun with it. Get it out there. All right. What are your final thoughts, guys? Give us your final thoughts.
I don't want any more technology junk in my phone. I mean, I don't want to be tracked. I don't want to be looked at. You know, this can be used in so many wrong ways. I mean, I probably am so cynical because of my age, and I've seen how the government's involved since the 60s, somewhere in there when I was born, and how it just all kind of is where it's going.
Yeah, that's a big thing. Like, phones can literally do anything now. It has GPS, has a camera, phone calls, connecting to internet and everything. But even then, I only use a phone, for making phone calls and texting, just like old phones was back in the day. So honestly, with all these apps, I don't really need them that much. I just either use my regular old computer to do all the stuff. Don't really use my
What they want to do is put a tether on everybody.
That's the thing they're doing. That's
Yeah.
the thing they're doing indeed.
I personally am against contact tracing because it's like you said, it's just all the phones basically playing Marco Polo with each other.
Yep.
And it's going to drain your battery because you have Bluetooth on.
Yeah.
And it's just not a good idea. It's not really going to help solve anything.
Yeah, I think it raises more problems than it raises solutions. And
eventually they're going to come down to this. They're going to put something in your car. You get in your car, turn the key to start it, or however you start it. The car's going to tell you, you have coronavirus. You are not going nowhere today.
Yeah, we'll cover on Dystopian News tomorrow about some drones that are being used to identify if you have coronavirus from 120 feet away, and then. Ooh.
I don't get what you're doing all this, but again, like with smart technology and everything, there's just like a whole bunch of people, well, either developers that are just trying to make a lot of money, so they're throwing out as much ideas as possible, and that's why we have like really stupid smart devices going out on the market.
Yeah,
you could be very well right too. That sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
I mean, as far as an analogy of what's going on.
Yeah, because it seems it's really suspicious that right now we have so many smart devices. We got drones and different technologies going on. It's just weird. So that's my only explanation that I can give that explains all of that.
Yeah. All right, we're going to wrap up the live portion today. I will be streaming again in 1 hour on my other channel. That is a Christian channel where we'll be talking about us and God. Just looking at the different roles and things. And so you can head on over there. I dropped the link in there. You can jump on over. Anna Rita says, started reading your new free book. It is good. Wife is reading it too, but she is ahead of me. Uh-oh. All right. Guys, we'll get to the end. Tell me how you like the ending there. Don't worry, you don't about your car, your toilet. We'll be able to tell if you're infected. That's right. I mean, it's coming out of Stanford. Clint as client has found his best personal solution for getting less tracked. I stopped using my phone when not at home. Using a Faraday bag, take it outside, but no one will be only using it in case of an emergency. Tom, can you share your free book with friends? Absolutely. You can take that free book and you can just pass it along. Just pass it along. Pass it along.
Yeah.
Your doctor's going to ask you for your toilet data before you can come in for an appointment.
Yep. There you go. Yes.
Smart toilet.
Excuse me. You need to go and poop in your toilet, and then we'll approve your.
Oh, I remember like a very old video from a long time ago about the Google toilet. Apparently somebody made a parody a long time ago, but yeah, that was a funny video, but that's exactly what I'm thinking about right now.
I remember there was a parody. It was called Google Tisp, where it was a toilet internet service provider where you would like flush a cable down the toilet, and there were like routers in the sewer and stuff. It was a Google April Fool's joke, and you could get free internet.
Yeah, apparently parodies are really funny, but it seems that those parodies from way back then are actually coming true right now. Like, honestly, if I'm realizing this is like reality.
Yep. Going to be an insurance stipulation one day. Yeah, well, that's happening. What happens if you don't have a smart toilet when the government forces you to have one? Absolutely. All right, guys, we're going to wrap up the live portion, and we will see you guys on the other stream if you are so inclined to join me over there. And if not, then tomorrow, 9 o'clock, is the weekly news roundup. It will be a blast. So later, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.